Driving games have been a staple in the video games industry ever since Rad Racer came out on the original NES way back in the 80s. Initially, driving games were focused solely on the racing. However, in recent times the genre has evolved drastically, with many developers taking an experimental approach to mixing up the gameplay. This resulted in games such as the Burnout series, where the core focus is to smash into other vehicles, causing as much mayhem and havoc as possible. Eventually, online multiplayer was brought into the mix and made for some incredibly fun games such as Forza Horizon, Gran Turismo and Twisted Metal. So Destruction All-Stars, a brand new PlayStation 5 exclusive, looked to be right up my alley, and I had pretty good expectations from it when I originally saw the footage. The game seemed like an evolution of the Destruction Derby formula, but inspired by contemporary mobile formats. The end product, however, is sorely disappointing. Destruction All-Stars is a multiplayer online battle arena, and while a lot of MOBAs these days have a decent story and lore to introduce you to the world, Destruction All-Stars does not. The only thing close to a story here is the 16 different playable characters available on launch. Each of them has their own separate look and car, although honestly their personalities aren't really well defined to make them anything other than a gameplay element. Story is non-existent in this game, however there is tons to talk about when it comes to setting. The game features a futuristic environment where we are put inside of an arena to compete against other different real life players. The world of Destruction All-Stars is really flashy, with neon lights and explosive visual effects covering the entirety of your surroundings. From the massive podium scattered with advertisements to the extremely flashy futuristic vehicles, everything in Destruction All-Stars looks spotless, shiny and meticulously crafted. There's a couple of locations you can choose from, including Las Vegas, London and Tokyo. However, the only time you really get a glimpse of these real life locations is during the intro cutscene. Once you're in game, the stadium covers the majority of the environment around you, and with cars knocking you into the oblivion, you won't be paying much attention to what little else you can see. The game takes some obvious inspirations from fellow car games such as Rocket League, and also from other battle arena games such as Overwatch. Essentially creating a hero game, but instead of shooting or spellcasting, driving is the main focus. However, the main difference between other car games and Destruction All-Stars is giving players the ability to jump out of the car and run around the arena. And when I say run around, I mean parkour, run across the walls, Titanfall style. After a couple hours of play, it quickly becomes clear that the game just isn't fun when you're not driving. While in theory the walking bits shouldn't play a huge role in this game, aside from ejecting to switch to a different car, the reality is it leads to long evading segments in each round where you're constantly out of the car running around the arena looking for a different one, while everyone else around you is actually driving and contributing towards the game. Moving away from realistic sims, Destruction All-Stars takes a more arcadey approach to its driving. The closest comparison I can think of is Rocket League. The snappy handbrake turns and boost labeled slam are essential tools when wrecking your opponents. The cars are highly responsive, and in all honesty this part of the game is highly infectious. There are also side slams that you can perform in game which also deal higher damage to the opposition, and each car comes equipped with a unique ability. These abilities when timed well are highly effective with takedowns, and it's not just the cars that come well equipped. Each of the 16 characters has an ability known as breakers. As an example, Shift has a breaker that allows him to become invisible for a short period. This effect can also be applied to his car. Now it's early days for the game, but it's clear to me that a couple of characters are overpowered. Some characters have hero vehicles that allow for one-hit kills such as Hannah and Bluefang. Other heroes have useless abilities such as Sergeant Rescue, who can cover an opponent in clouds of smoke. This balance issue is absolutely game breaking, as every player races to select the more powerful character during the selection screen. On release we have a total of 4 game modes available, 2 of which I find to be incredibly boring, those being Mayhem and Stockpile. Mayhem, as the name suggests, is all about driving cars and hitting cars. The more damage you inflict, the more points you gain. Stockpile has you running around outside of the car to deposit scrap into small banks. One thing I immediately noticed with Stockpile is the influx of players getting run over, as the majority of players just prefer driving around, and hence very few players stick to the objective. Carnado is a better mode when it comes to playing the objective, as you simply collect scrap whilst inside the car and then deposit that scrap by deep diving into a tornado. The better of the 4 modes available is Gridfall, essentially a last man standing mode that will appeal to fans of battle royales. The large arena slowly falls apart and all 16 players participating are supposed to try and knock each other out or off the edge of the map. Last but not least, let's talk about the microtransactions. The game is littered with them. The currency system lets players buy skins and emotes for characters. However, the skins available in the game only really change part of a character's suit, like a single colour. It's hardly noticeable, and as of the time I'm writing this review, there are no unique card designs. Even with an overpriced skin, you hardly get to see your character show it off as the gameplay moves so quickly, no one will pay any attention. Visually, the game is fantastic. It's exciting to look at, but that doesn't come as a surprise considering the game has been created from the ground up for the PlayStation 5. The best thing about playing it on a next-gen console is how smooth the overall experience is in and out of the car. The game targets a locked 60 frames per second, and during my entire playthrough I never encountered a single drop. The destruction is also accompanied with some great in-game physics, and visual effects are top notch. In many ways, visuals is about the only thing that makes this game stand out from its competitors. On the audio front, the voice acting isn't anything to brag about, but the occasional one-liner for each character is appreciated. The cars themselves sound very beefy, especially the all-muscle vehicles. Slams also have an immense weight to them as you shatter entire engines. I did notice one strange thing about the game, and that is the lack of music present. Both the tutorial and menu screen feature great exciting music that pumps the player up. The rest of the game, however, is shockingly barren. In fact, in matches there's no music anywhere, leaving the player to hear the sound of car engines and crashes until it's all over. It's just odd for a game that's so fast paced not to have any music accompanying the mayhem. Destruction AllStars has great car handling and maneuverability along with some unique hero abilities. Unfortunately, the gameplay outside of the car slogs the game down and makes it a boring affair, with the character abilities not helping much in any way. The lack of fun game modes and good content also decreases the amount of engagement one can have with this game. Simply put, Destruction AllStars is a gorgeous looking game, but any good is quickly overshadowed by the fact that it isn't any fun to play and severely lacks content. This results in a subpar competitive car game which you could probably get occasional enjoyment out of at the most. In a rare instance, here's one PlayStation exclusive that's incredibly average.